It is tough right now. It's tough out there.
You're going in with a whole bunch of assumptions and bias.
It's okay to ask for help.
Why would you do that rather than representing your brand yourself?
Because otherwise you get distracted.
Is it world domination for you?
Very humble. We don't want to be the tall poppy in the room.
What's going on in your head for expansion?
There is a formula.
Yeah.
I learned the formula from Linda Jenkinson.
I think we probably need more of those. I'm Shona Grundy, founder and host of These Three Things, a podcast aimed at building a thriving and more inclusive startup ecosystem through sharing real lessons from people doing the hard work. We focus on the three strategically critical aspects of the startup journey: raising capital, finding product market fit, and expanding offshore. If you find this useful, please subscribe and recommend the podcast to at least 3 other people. We appreciate you lending us your ears and joining us for this episode. Today's guest is Knight Hou. After a highly successful corporate career in Air New Zealand, followed by pivotal roles as product manager at both Spark and Datacom, Knight embarked on a transformative journey by committing his full-time dedication to a small venture he co-founded in 2017, alongside his CTO, known as Relab. This pioneering property technology startup experienced a meteoric rise, transcending obscurity to secure an impressive 30% market share, solidifying its position as an indispensable tool for real estate professionals. In response to a slowdown in the property market at the end of 2021, Knight masterminded a significant pivot, swiftly transitioning the company's focus from B2C to a B2B model. Under his visionary leadership, the company not only maintains its dominance in the New Zealand market, but also sets its sight on the ambitious goal of expanding into the Australian market. Knight, welcome to These Three Things.
Thank you very much, Shona, for the invite.
You're one of our younger founders on their journey to come in here, but 30% is a significant lift and capture of a market. Can you explain to me, a bit more of your background and then how you came to kind of just go, I'm changing from working in these corporate companies and I'm going to go out on my own?
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in China. I came to New Zealand in 2002 by myself as an international student. It was probably the first big disruption in my life where you have to leave the comfort of your home and start a new life in another country. It wasn't easy, but now thinking back, it was a really, really great experience where you start from nothing and you build up your life in another country, which New Zealand is home now. I'm father of 2 young boys. And after graduating, I spent my decade-long career with Air New Zealand. I love aviation. I mean, just like many other boys, flying and playing has always been my dream. It still is now.
Wow, okay.
Working for the airline, although it was a corporate job, have given me 2 things. Number one is ability to combine my passion for aviation with what I do. And number 2, Air New Zealand being one of the largest employers in New Zealand has meant that if you wanted to chase different experiences within a large corporate, there is opportunity to do so. So within 10 years, I probably had 3 or 4 roles ranging from IT, project manager, to international marketing, to government and stakeholder relations. So I had the pleasure of working...
Huge range,
yes.
That's kind of interesting then. It's almost like this incubator for getting some experience and finding your mentors. And was there anyone who really significantly impacted your path? And, that's what I imagine went on for you. What do you think?
100%. It was actually after I left the airline and after my corporate jobs when I was exploring the growth opportunity for Relab, my startup now, that I reached out to one of Air New Zealand's board members, Linda Jenkinson.
Oh, amazing.
At the time, she had just returned to New Zealand from the US. She was in quarantine, so she just sent out an invite on LinkedIn saying, I'm going to spend the next 2 years, mentoring startup founders. If you have a growth mindset, get in touch with me. And I just
Are you serious? That is brilliant of her. Okay.
She did that from her quarantine hotel in Christchurch
Amazing.
in 2011. So we have since met, and since then, Linda Jenkinson and the startup program called Level Up program, it's a CEO circle, have played a pivotal role in terms of support for each other, as well as how do we find the quickest way to grow our businesses to the next billion-dollar company.
I mean, that's what I actually often find, that it's because we're such a small country of only 5 million, it's actually really difficult to find those experiences, as other bigger countries have. So to have these smaller networks and these circles that you can rely on, I would say actually it's a really important part of your journey.
It absolutely is. I'm still part of the Level Up program now, and we talk within this program, the biggest takeaway for me is it was a safe environment for everyone to share their ambition. In New Zealand, there is a tall poppy syndrome. When we go to a barbecue, we generally speaking don't talk about work or growth or solving a customer problem. Whereas in this circle, it's absolutely safe to do so, and people with similar experiences as founders, entrepreneurs will actually help you out because they've done it. They've walked the path. So
Like-minded people
supporting each other.
Let's move on to capital raising, because that's one of the segments of the show that everybody's interested in.
Yes.
Have you raised capital?
We have.
You have?
Yes.
And why did you raise capital? What was the driving force for you?
Absolutely. We have just recently closed a $2 million round, and it was a third time that we've raised. All of the money that we raised today was from New Zealand. And having done it 3 times, I think I'm starting to get the hang of things now. There are 2 things that come into play. Number one is, as a B2B SaaS company, New Zealand is a perfect ground to test product market fit and test, is there a model for you? But really, in order for us to grow, we have to look at scaling to international markets. And that's kind of a good and bad thing. It's bad because we only, as you mentioned, we're a country of 5 million people, so it's very easy to reach the ceiling if you're a B2B SaaS. But it's good because it forces you to think about international expansion from day one. And we realized that it's a race. It's a race not against our competitors, but it's a race against time. So capital raise is one of the necessary things founders, CEOs all have to think about as part of their growth strategy.
So your first round was that did you give them names? Were they like pre-seed, seed, or what was this third round that you've raised? Did you give it a name?
The third round is Series A in New Zealand standard, but I guess if you compare our round size compared with the US market, it would probably be a angel round.
Series A, there's all these questions around that particular round, because I'd say that's a really challenging round for most CEOs and founders. You get the raise on the small idea, you might get a raise to build a prototype, but getting to Series A, what were the metrics that the investors were looking for that you realized you needed to hit in order for them to say yes? Absolutely.
That's a really good question. If you were doing earlier rounds, it's easier because your valuation was smaller and you can successfully raise a smaller rounds without having proven product market fit. I think to have raised Series A, I think the 3 things that people or investors looking for, number one, have you actually demonstrated product market fit? They wouldn't in Series A consider just invest in an idea. Number 2 is your growth momentum. As a B2B SaaS company, how fast are you growing? And number 3 is your TAM, the total addressable market.
TAM is how big your company has the potential of growing. How big is this market? What is it worth?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. And so did you have trouble demonstrating those metrics, or did you feel quite confident that, yes, we're on track and that's what was going on for you?
Yes, absolutely. We're very confident from day one. That's the answer I would give, right? But in reality, yes, it was quite challenging to raise in the current environment. We're at the tail end of 2023. The risk-free return is it's about 5%, whereas 2 years ago it was next to nothing. So the whole sentiment around venture investment has really changed. So we have to work extra hard to prove that we can tick the boxes on all the three things that's required. At the same time, investors would still look at a Series A in the company's journey and go, this is still early-ish stage. So they will look at the founders and your founding team, and I would say half of that is metrics-driven, and the other half is belief-driven. Can you do it? Because, it will be very naive to think that any company at this stage of the raise, you're just sorted, you have a good moat, and you're going to become a unicorn next year. It's not realistic. So part of that is believing in the founder and the team that you have proven you can do this, and do you have what it takes to do this in the future?
I do have a specific question for you there, Knight, around those three things that you talked about. So demonstrated product market fit. What is that? Is that your ARR? Is there a magic metric?
There are two ways to look at this. Product market fit is a topic that's very, very crucial for every startup, for every idea, going from idea to successful commercialization. I have spoken with many other founders. Many of them have successfully exited. And one of the things that they have shared with me was, oh my God, finding product market fit was the toughest time in building their business, their startup. And I share the same sentiment. Now looking back, there are different metrics that tells you that you've ticked product market fit. And the most obvious one is your subscriber base and your ARR. Suddenly the rate of increase just changes dramatically.
And so how did you structure your ARR? So is it monthly? Do you do monthly subscriptions? I mean, I think this is one of the critical parts of product market fit is the pricing, right?
Yes.
So what was your journey around achieving ARR in terms of pricing or getting your customers over the line? What was that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people don't talk about pricing and pricing strategy, and by extension, channel strategy, when they were talking about ARR. And for us, our ARR is relatively simple. Our business model is a subscription based. We sell our software to property professionals, mostly real estate agents, and they would sign up to an annual plan or monthly plan. In the back, we use Stripe as our payment engine, and Stripe has this awesome feature dashboard that shows you real time what's your monthly recurring revenue, MRR, what's your annual recurring revenue, ARR, your churn rate, everything. So they've done a lot of heavy lifting in terms of metrics.
Awesome.
In terms of pricing, that's a journey we're still exploring. So we currently have 3 tiered pricing. Our most common tier is what we call Relab Pro. That's $450 plus GST a year subscription, and our users can choose to pay annually or monthly. That's 90% of our base is on there. We also launched a new product called Relab Prospect. So that's a tool the agent can use to drive up their sales pipeline. And that's $2,500 plus GST on the retail individual. And that's a new plan. It's also growing very fast. So in terms of answering the question around product market fit, I think it's not just, hey, you've crossed the finish line, you've got product market fit now. It's a constant journey to chase multiple milestones.
I think it's probably worth pointing out to our listeners that there's this real focus on ARR, annual recurring revenue, or we break it down into monthly recurring revenue, because we have learnt that revenue that is predictable can be scalable, and we can understand the way our business grows, There is another model in business which is more around service, right? It's like a one-off sale, done it once, but in order to get that same sale again, my sales team, my marketing team have to continue to hustle, and I'm not sure if I will close it again next month unless all the right conditions fall into place. Whereas with a monthly subscription, unless the end user or the business cancels, we know that it will continue to click over and calculate. And just for the listeners at home, we often have learned to chase that as our pricing model over a service-based one, because investors will value a business 10 times its annual recurring revenue if it's on a subscription base. If it's on a service base, they'll only value your business at 3 times that annual return. Yeah, so just a bit of because I think people go down this route of trying to understand pricing and why investors really focus on annual recurring revenue. It's like they want to see a business model that has that. I just want to pause here for a minute to tell you about our sponsor, Callaghan Innovation, Aotearoa New Zealand's innovation agency. This agency empowers innovators, helping you transform your world-bettering ideas into commercially successful ventures. What you may or may not know is that Callaghan have a fantastic suite of products called Upskill. These products will help you identify the innovation, R&D, and commercialization skills you need to amplify and elevate your ideas, and then train you to put them into practice. So go check it out by heading over to their website, callahaninnovation.govt.nz/upskill.
Realization in that annual or monthly recurring revenue model versus a service-based model. My experience has taught me that it's not a clear cut. It's not like you're a service-based business and overnight you have transformed into a monthly recurring revenue. I think there is a critical phase of starting with maybe a service-based model and keep exploring the product market fit for an ongoing recurring revenue model. And there is also a phase, even for a pure SaaS company, in terms of their go-to-market, their channel strategy, maybe early on to enable Blaze scaling, you do have to do or chase some of the revenue that's going to give you future growth, but you just don't have everything perfectly lined up as well.
No, that's an excellent point. When you're first going out into market,
yes.
Sometimes it is just about getting that one sale,
yeah,
and then exploring how you can figure out your pricing. Whilst we're on this subject of product market fit and pricing, have you found that your customers are open and amenable to your experimentation with your pricing? Or do you feel like I've already told them the price, now I have to stick to it?
On the pricing front, I think we've done enough work that our customers do accept our pricing. But on the product market fit front, I just find our customers, they love giving us ideas and feedback and help us improve and help us find product market fit. And our customers have played a critical role in helping us find out product market fit.
Amazing. Just before we go down that road, I did want to cover off some additional things on your capital raising. How long did that A round take for you to open and close?
Sure.
And how long would you suggest that people give themselves in order to open and close a raise?
My suggestion to founders and entrepreneurs is having this mindset of always raising, always closing. And I mean it figuratively and also mean it in real life. One of the things about capital raise is you don't want to make it a transactional thing which puts a lot of strain on yourself and your team and your family. And if you do that, it's going to be a horrible experience. You're under pressure, you're going to run out of time, and you're distracted from running the company. Whereas making it more of a relationship thing, you don't want to go to your investor T minus 2 days from your closing to go, hey, I need $500,000, please sign this agreement. You want to be building the rapport and relationship with them long before you even think about you need money. In terms of actual capital raise, this time around, it took us more than 9 months. Originally, I wanted to close within 6 months, but it is tough right now. It's tough out there. There's pressure on valuation. There's more scrutiny on companies' profitability or path to profitability rather than just purely chasing growth. And there's also serious questions being asked on your business model and your sustainability.
So this is all a lot of growing that you've had to do from working in Air New Zealand and Datacom, where they took care of the business and you took care of product, to coming into this founder CEO role of, I've got to now deliver things like business plans and financial models and all these things. I mean, it must have been a huge growth curve. Where did you learn this from? I mean, where did you get your resourcing from or help from, and who helped you build the materials in order to close your round?
A very good question. There are many people along the journey that helped me in many different ways, and Hussein is one of them. And what I've learned now is look at businesses differently now. In the book Blitz Scaling by Chris Yosh, he was the ex-CEO of LinkedIn. He co-authored this book. He looked at businesses from an angle of company size. You start from a family, which is 1 to 9 people. Then you go into a village, which is 10 to, I think, 100. And then you go into a tribe, you go into a nation, so on and so forth. So for me, my journey has been, I've always been used to start, being with a company where everything's taken care of for you. You just, execute this part of your role into going to start a family, which is you, yourself, your co-founders, and your close team members. It's a big shock. I actually cut my teeth in terms of being exposed to startup life by working in a blockchain startup. Okay. In between my corporate experience, in 2019, I left Spark and joined a Kiwi blockchain and crypto startup called Brave New Coin, and my role was to build a financial product, like indices and data product for all cryptocurrency transactions globally. And I was in that role for just less than a year. Just me, head of product, leading 10 Java developers, working on back-end systems, using AWS's latest tools at the time. And we've built some really world-leading indices product back then. So that was the first experience in me having end-to-end control of product and running a company in an uncertain market, which has somewhat prepared me for what's to come at Relab. But really, it's just the attitude of being open to feedback and being brave to embrace uncertainty and just front foot, and don't push things to tomorrow. Just do it now and learn from doing.
Brilliant. So you just cracked on with it, got feedback, asked people for help.
Yeah, ask people for help and ask customers for their input in our product process. I remember early on in our journey, before we found product market fit, we really struggled because there are 3 potential customer segments that we could serve. One of them being real estate agents, the other being property investors, the other being small to medium-sized developers. They all find our product useful and they're all paying for our product back then. But internally, we got into this huge debate with our product team. Which direction do we take? Because you can't just build a mediocre product that seemingly can tick the box for all 3 of them. That's impossible. So what I did is I locked myself in the room for a week and picked up the phone and ran 500 of our early users. They sign up. I have their mobile numbers. I just started building this giant spreadsheet and asked them, some simple questions. Who are you? Why are you using Relab today? And what do you wish Relab could deliver for you tomorrow?
Okay. So, yeah, just asking them.
Just asking them.
I have actually had that feedback before from a US investor. He was like, what I find really interesting about the New Zealand market is that we're so used to trying to solve all the problems. And he's finding that in companies that are building products too, or trying to do their startup. And I do find that myself. If I ask a founder, what's the problem your product solves? And if they give me quite a long explanation that's several sentences over several paragraphs, I kind of get to the point where I go, I'm just going to estimate here that your problem right now is product market fit, because just as what you've said to me just now, your team were sitting there at the beginning going, well, we can solve these problems for these different users. And you got to a point where you just went, I need to figure out what the problem is.
Correct.
So what was your problem? You probably had 3 or 4.
Yep.
What was the one that you chose?
The one that we chose was for real estate agents. They're great salespeople and they're great at service delivery, but they're not very good at data and finding leads, especially early on in your journey. So we built our product to help them with the top of the funnel, but using data-driven platform.
Excellent. And then that helped focus you on the product market fit side.
Correct.
Yes. So, how would you, we keep raising this word product market fit, but how would you actually describe it, and what are you doing in your journey to continuously ensure you have product market fit?
Sure. I think I'll describe the moment. I can remember vividly that moment when we found product market fit.
Okay, that'd be brilliant.
Which is when you start to see your subscription number just start to grow without you having to push very hard. And you have the feeling that, yes, we found it, finally. Whereas before, it's very hard to set out some criteria or just have a very time-bound mission to achieve that if you go out seeking very hard. The harder you try, the more difficult I think it seemingly becomes. You almost have to let go of all your assumptions, of all your expectations, of all you've learned to date, and unlearn and relearn. So I'll describe that process as probably worthwhile considering, because we're all going into a startup with a strong passion, with a strong idea, because otherwise you wouldn't do that. But quite often what you started off originally, it might not lead you on the right path, and you really need to listen to your customers who are voting with their credit card. And they will tell you if you care to ask.
Oh, that's awesome. I really like that description of you're going in with a whole bunch of assumptions and bias about who you think these people are, and you're saying, let go of that and go and ask your customers.
Yep.
So you built the first viable product, you put it in their hands,
Yep.
and then you went, actually, you tell me.
Yep. Actually, you tell me what you wish to see and what other product you wish to that we built for you.
I mean, you're a product person, so you do know this. There's always this concern of people that, well, if I ask the customer what they want, they're going to give me a list of features. Then how do I make a product for everyone if everyone's got different features that they want? How do I prioritize that, or how do I make a beautiful product? What would you say to that? How did you handle that sort of scenario?
That would happen, yes, very commonly. And what I'll say to that is, if that's a feedback, or if that's how you feel about customer feedback, I would say that you're on the journey to find customer feedback, but you're not there yet. There's a difference between talk to the customer and really talking to the customer. Sam Altman from OpenAI talks about this. There is a list of 7 things that he thinks that from his Y Combinator experience or OpenAI experience that startup founders should do. Number 1 is understand your customer thoroughly. And that means more than just sending them a survey monkey link. That means more than just give them a questionnaire. That means shadow the customer, live with the customer if you have to, really invest in your time, energy, passion up front in the discovery phase. The longer you invest in that phase, the quicker you will find product market fit. Have the real interaction with your customer and keep at it for a long enough time when you're able to walk away with one problem statement. That's the beginning of you finding product market fit.
Just to finalize this product market fit conversation, is there any particular metrics other than ARR that you're tracking in your business or your product to help you keep tabs on that?
Yes. I think there are two. Yes, there's one other thing that you should look at in the theme of product market fit. The ARR is what happens after you found product market fit, right? Because ARR is how fast you can grow. But before that, I think you need to consider the friction for adoption. So whether that's number of people sign out for the free trial, how long do they stay on free trial, their usage time, their usage frequency, how often do they share with their peers. Those are all very helpful metrics for you to monitor adoption friction. And then later on, once you have nailed product market fit, what channel, what growth strategy do you pursue to really enable that ARR growth? And another way to look at this is, if I look at our ARR curve for the last 3 years, it's not a linear path. It's not a pure exponential path either. It goes exponential for a year, plateau for a wee while, and it goes up again. So that's indication of different pivots in our journey. We found product market fit early on, which enabled us to grow exponentially, and then market condition would change.
Right.
As you touched on earlier, in New Zealand, that's the slowdown in the property market, where we have to pivot away from individual investors and small to medium-sized developers to real estate agents who have a greater number in New Zealand, and they have more usage frequency of our product.
So you saw a change in the market through your data.
Yes.
It wasn't the newspapers saying, oh, there's been a drop in the property market. You knew there was a change in the market because you had data over your product.
100%.
And so what was your reaction to that? What was the first thing you did when you saw that plateau? Was that a alarm bell, or did you just go, oh, well, that's the pattern of my business? Or did you understand if that was?
I had a gut feel that was inevitable. It was going to happen. And our leading indicators suggested that. And upon seeing that, we had a company strategy meeting and decided to pivot 100% away from all the smaller segments and onto focusing on real estate agents as a bigger segment.
So when you say the smaller segment, you were targeting just a different type of user, or?
Yeah, completely different vertical. So early on, the first year of our journey was targeting investors and developers.
Mm-hmm. So property investors and property developers.
Correct.
Okay.
And that was all organic growth from, the market very hot, and they're needing a tool to help them to perform due diligence and reach a conclusion very fast.
Okay.
So that was that product market fit, ticked off those boxes very well. But I knew that it was not sustainable. This was not going to... The two issues, number one is the market size was too small. Number two is, if we were to target the entirety of that segment, cost of acquire would be so high, it would not make this worthwhile.
So you were tracking that metric of the total available market, or the serviceable attainable market. There's different things that people call it. So you kind of got to that point after you had already started targeting them. You were like, these are great, but then when they're too small and they cost us too much to get a customer every time. Is that what was going on for you?
Yes, and we realized to target real estate agents market, and quite often there are agencies behind them, it's it's a combination of individual SaaS selling and corporate selling, because you're selling to a company of 2,000 agents. And I know that the sales cycle for that is long. So we needed growth and revenue to help to take us there.
Right.
So we knew that early on.
I do hear that sometimes, there's different types of customer. You're targeting just the general public or another business or enterprise. And I think often people go, oh, those enterprise customers, they're great, they're big, they're huge, and they do the number calculation on them. But then what you're saying is, yes, they're big, but they cost us so much because they take a long time to land. Is that what your experience was?
They take a long time to land. The time is a big thing, because not only do you have to deliver a great product, you also have to build a reputable brand for the larger customers even to consider you. Because they want to know that you're going to be here for a while, you can provide enterprise-grade data, quality and service.
And the security part, they always want the big security, yeah.
Yes, so we knew that that's what it takes to get them. Then we'll get them, but in the meantime, we need something to keep fueling our growth.
You've worked really hard on your product market fit. You got it once. You understood immediately from your data that you actually need to do a pivot. You got it back again by working those numbers, using your data to understand yourself, talking to your customers.
Yeah.
You grab New Zealand market, 30%, that's huge. That's a huge share of the New Zealand market. So you've talked about Australia. You just mentioned you're going to Australia.
Yeah.
Was that always your ambition? Did you, why are you going offshore? What were the decisions behind that?
Absolutely. I think the main reason behind us growing offshore is we can see in New Zealand our total addressable market. I mean, it's quite sizable, but in order for us to keep investing in our R&D, investing in our team and delivering top-notch product, we do need to grow, and we need the numbers to grow. So Australia and eventually the US market is the logical decision for us.
So why Australia first then?
I actually spent a month in the US last year. So I went to Austin, Texas, and San Francisco last year to learn about the property dynamics over there and meet with fellow entrepreneurs in the vertical that we're in. And I came back with the realization that the property market and the property data market, it's quite specific to the country, the jurisdiction. It's a semi-regulated market, and there are very, very heavy regional nuance on the type of data that we have. So that by nature means that Australia is similar to New Zealand when it comes to our jurisdiction, our shared culture, and the data access. So Australia is a natural choice.
Excellent. So yes, you were looking at things like compliance, regulatory bodies, and I'm thinking in my mind, you're going to land in Australia and you're going to hit already nuances to that particular customer. Is that something you've already noticed already, or you're working on? What are you doing to prepare yourself for the reality that this product may not just be a cut and paste over into Australia and work just as well?
I already know that. So the way that we look at Australian market is not going to be the same as New Zealand. For one, there are already competitors doing what we do in Australia. Mm-hmm. And also, because we're from New Zealand, we lack the brand recognition and some of the on-the-ground relationships that some of the others have. We haven't found the perfect path to success in Australia yet, but we're on a journey to talk to the customers over there, ask them about their pain points, and start to build those relationships, which hopefully will help us find the recipe for Australia.
And so on that note on competitors, some people might think, well, if there's already a company over there doing it, that means we're out and we're blocked out. what made, why are you still going in there even though you've got competitors, and how do you address that concept of competitors?
It's a really good question. I think we live in an age where change is the constant, and this pace of change is ever more happening at a faster pace. I mean, look at the adoption of generative AI amongst many other things. So I think that means, as a smaller startup, if you stay focused and stay close to the problem, there is opportunity for you to discover value and create value. Number two, our customers are real estate agents. And if we put ourselves in our customers' shoes, on one hand, they have the increasing demand from their customers, property buyers and sellers, to provide a better experience, better tools, and better outcome for them. Because these customers, the end consumers, these set their expectation based on the service they get from Uber, Airbnb, and Netflix. There is that happening. On the other hand, there are B2C portals which provide listing services to agents as well. These portals are also becoming bigger and bigger. So what we've learned from New Zealand is we stand firmly with industry, and we want to be their data platform of choice to enable them to work smarter, not harder. So therefore, do we believe this is the same position for us going to Australia? I think that stands true. Therefore, we just have to stay close to this truth, but find out how we execute and in what areas we do.
So you've found kind of your place to enter.
Correct.
Your unique selling position that make you're just like, yes, they had them, but we're slightly different, and here's why.
100%.
What's your plan to go into Australia? You're just going to do it from New Zealand and make phone calls, or put in a team, or what's your plan for that?
No, I've definitely not. You can't do that from just pick up the phone or jumping on Zoom calls even to Australia, because the richness from my face-to-face conversations. So I just came back from spending a week in Sydney 2 weeks ago, and last month I spent a week in Brisbane. So we are in the discovery phase of our market entry for Australia, and I want to leave enough room, enough time for me to have those meaningful conversations, find our product market fit over there before we deploy a team, and start thinking about the on-the-ground structure. In my head, I would love to retain our development team in New Zealand. But we have enough talent in this country. I think, we're from New Zealand. I really want to keep our footprint here. And once we find our path to entry, it will be probably more along sales and channel and partnership resources, rather than copy and paste the entire team in Australia.
So that channel partnership, just for listeners to understand, if you haven't heard of channel partnerships, it's kind of those who specialize in the industry, who already sell other products or already have those customers, and you give them an opportunity to represent your brand.
Yep.
So that's something that you're exploring, and why would you do that rather than representing your brand yourself?
That's something we're exploring. I don't think we've reached the conclusion yet. It might be a model where we would have on the ground presence in the main centers, but it's just not realistic to do it in a country such as Australia. It's so vast. And Australia is different from New Zealand because the state and federal level complexity as well. So what might work in Victoria might not necessarily work in Queensland. So we do need that on the ground partnership. In terms of the partnership, I also see there are different degrees of partnership. I mean, the highest form of partnership is probably a full M&A, and the least sort of close partnership might be a co-sell opportunity, or might just be a MOU. And where we land in that spectrum is still yet to be discovered.
So you could, it depends on who they might be. They could just sell it, but you still control your customer success and service and implementation side.
Correct.
They're just the door openers.
Yep.
or they're doing the full service. So that's really interesting. What I quite often see, or what used to be the thing, is that people would raise their money and they'd go, well, I promised we were going to go into Australia, therefore I will hire my team immediately. But you're approaching it a little bit differently. Can you sort of explain to me why you're doing that discovery work first and what you see the risks are that you're trying to mitigate in terms of that?
I remember when I was still in the corporate jobs, I see examples of big Kiwi companies making market entry into Australia, and not all of them worked out well. I think of some household names. Do you remember Freedom Air?
I do, yes.
Back in the days, and there are other examples, right? So I've always reminded myself, Australia, you can't just assume New Zealand and Australia are the same. And if big companies can not guarantee 100% market entry success with 100 times more resource, you need to be careful. And the second reason behind that is, I think sometimes when startups very quickly raise money, it's actually not a good thing. Because when you have raised money, you have the expectation to quickly spend money to prove to your investors that you're actually doing this. Maybe at the time of your raise, the situation might be different. The market was in a different place, and your own learning is different as well. So I think we take this approach because we want to leave enough room for ourselves to get it right, rather than just doing this for the sake of proving to our investors that we're doing this. Because otherwise you get distracted into a pattern that might not work best for you. There is also a potential that what the product market fit we've found in New Zealand might not work in Australia. There is also that possibility as well.
Australia next, potentially the USA.
Yep.
Is it world domination for you, or, do you have kind of your limits as to, as a founder, as a CEO, how do you want to live your life? What's going on in your head for expansion?
Having come from a corporate experience going to a very, very small startup, I've kind of experienced the extremes of both. And I'm learning, and I'm conscious that the skills and value that I bring to Relab today is what Relab needs. But when Relab gets bigger, I might not be the best person to lead the company to its full potential. So I'm conscious there is life cycle to these things. So for me, a successful outcome for Relab will be us making $10 million revenue. That's a big milestone. And from that point, whether we get to 100 million or 200 million revenue depends. I mean, I wish we can go to 100 mil, but we can't guarantee, or we don't see a firm path to that. Work-life balance is important to me. I have a 9-year-old and 5-year-old, 2 boys. I love spending time with them. One of the things I really enjoy in the current stage of Relab is I can take them to work and explain to them this is how things work, take them to meetings, introduce them to team members so that they get exposed to the business world, if you like, early on. But I want them to appreciate that they might need to carve out their own path, whatever they choose to do in the future. I also want to make sure I spend enough time with them, not all on work. Our goal, you aim for the moon. Our goal is to get to first 20 mil revenue, then 100 or 200. That's the aspiration.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So that big goals, big dreams.
Exactly. I've experienced the corporate end of the spectrum. I've experienced the 1 to 20 startup. I have not experienced 100 to 200 or even 5 to 500 team size. And I very much look forward to that. I hope I can lead Relab to that phase. But once we get there, whether it's still me or another leader to lead the company, that's for the board and future team to decide.
That's wonderful.
Can I just add something in there? Because I feel like, Knight, you bring a lot of wisdom. You are not a stereotypical founder in your stage in life and the size of your company. And one of the goals of our podcast is to create a more inclusive startup ecosystem. And I guess the question I have for you is, what is missing? What could be done differently? What have you found really hard? What are the pieces that you really struggled with that you think if they changed, we'd have a much more inclusive ecosystem?
I think everyone have their own mission in life, and I think we will need to really look at our mission very hard and ask ourselves, does our mission align with what we do? In the context of startup, I just hope that we could all help foster the safe environment that we're experiencing. Level Up, where every CEO and founder can be 100% vulnerable and share your success as well as your failures, and you wouldn't be judged upon. I hope that when we go to the next barbecue gathering, when you start talking about your growth ambition, you wouldn't be frowned upon, and people, those who find it interesting can join you in that conversation. And I also hope that when we're talking about business, is not to be shamed off, whether your future ambition or the current stage you're at. I have seen a stats where it says that I think for most Kiwis, you're more likely to share about your sex life than your money matters. And I hope to flip that to go, everyone is a startup entrepreneur, everyone has a dream, aspirations, but they might just need help along the way. It's okay to ask for help. Yeah, a safer environment, leaving aside tall poppy syndrome and actually helping each other on that journey.
That's a wonderful ambition. Yeah.
And how has that manifested in the capital raising journey? So have you had any challenges in that journey that you go, this could be done, this could be easier?
The onus is on both sides. The onus is on founder's side to make sure you have all your ducks in a row, you are prepared in every conversation, and you actually lead the conversation. Don't outsource. Do as much as everything yourself if possible. What I meant by that is study the term sheet, write your own term sheet if you have to, and don't always outsource that to a lawyer or a specialist, because they might not have your best interest at heart. They're a professional in what they do, but you as a founder, as a CEO, you need to learn about this. On the other side, which is investors and VCs, PEs, I think I'm already starting to see this, which is their investment mandate is becoming broader. 5 years ago, you might just have VCs, their minimum check size is $5 million. They were only investing in companies who are post-Series A's. And now I'm seeing more and more VCs here and abroad that are open to invest from seed round all the way to C round, maybe. So they're open to writing bigger or smaller check sizes and, being more flexible. One of the things that I learned is investment, especially venture investment, is not entirely a logical decision. Investors will make a decision within 30 seconds of meeting you, and they will spend the rest of the time trying to prove their theory wrong. So they'll look at you, they will shake your hands, look at you in the eye, and hear your pitch. At that moment, they have already made up their mind whether they're going to give you $500,000 or not. If they don't ask for any additional information, they're not interested. If they do ask for additional information, they're looking for proof points to prove themselves wrong, because they've already made the emotional decision with you. You either connect or not connect. And the rest 3 weeks or 3 months is, can I find holes in their deck, their paperwork, their accounting, whatever, to prove that I'm wrong?
That whole decision-making part of your brain I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. I don't know if you've seen his Golden Circle. So he talks about that that gut feeling, there's actually no language around it. It's made up of your informed decisions. And really what he's saying is that it's not until we get to the why that we explain to people, this is why I've built my business, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, that helps inform the part of your brain that just makes it feel good. So I don't know if you did this yourself then. Did you lead with the why with those investors, or did you just say, this is my product, this is how it works, this is the back end, this is how it's put together? I mean, because you're saying as soon as they meet you, they're making a decision, but it can't be because you're incredibly handsome and dress well. There must be something that you've said that's come out of your mouth. What do you think it might have been?
There is a formula.
Yeah.
I learned the formula from Linda Jenkinson.
There you go.
She actually teaches and mentors us on this every time when we meet, whether it's monthly or quarterly. Everyone, all the CEOs in the circle, we're all asked to pitch to each other and to her every time, 2 minutes. That's what we have. And the formula she has taught us, this is more based on the US model, is your first 10 seconds is to establish your credibility. Your next 10 or 20 seconds is your whys. And everything else is just additional information. So if I were to pitch to you, Shona, say that you are a VC looking to invest in B2B startups in New Zealand, I would go along the lines of, hi, my name is Knight. I built a company that grew from 0 to 30% market share in New Zealand in 2 years. That's how you establish your credibility, using your track record and numbers, because people don't know you, especially when you go overseas. And then after that, you go, we do that by providing a all-in-one platform that helps real estate agents with the top of the funnel. And agents who use us are 30% more productive than the ones who don't.
Then that's it.
And then that's it. You leave it like that. Or you go, if you're interested to find out more, we can, give you more information. So that's a formula.
It is a formula. And this is where I'm always thinking, if someone has taken me several sentences, they're taking breath, they're explaining it further, I start switching off because I'm like, they don't have it yet. But you're right, it's like, this is my credibility and this is why we are important.
Yeah.
We are solving this problem. Let's go.
Not all founders are doing this, and I wish there would be more people. You see, if we don't have this opportunity and this platform to share this, probably 90% of the founders wouldn't know, unless you're either part of a small circle or you've done this before. And chances are those serial entrepreneurs who've done this before, many of them gained their experience from other countries. NZTE had a paper a while ago that measured Kiwi founders against Aussie founders in bigger markets. And what they found was Kiwi founders are a bit shy about asking for help, a bit shy about sharing what they've achieved, because this is not the Kiwi way. We're very humble. We don't want to be the top poppy in the room, and that's just how things are. But when you do scale to international market, you need to establish your credibility within 30 seconds. How are you going to do that?
So almost going in with an alter ego, right?
Yep.
Like if you're not that type of personality, I don't like to skite, I don't like to big up myself. I always say to people, Beyonce has another alter ego. She doesn't go on stage as Beyonce. She goes on as Sasha Fierce.
Yep.
Because she's a very Christian woman who doesn't shake her booty at home, but she gets on that stage as Sasha Fierce, and people are like, oh, I didn't understand that. It's like you have to, if you're not comfortable with that, you must find it.
You must find it or practice. Find whatever your support network, fellow entrepreneurs, your partner, can be whoever that you can trust and be vulnerable and just practice.
And you've got that circle, which is brilliant.
Yes.
I think we probably need more of those. But
yeah,
that sounds like that was actually gold, learning that about that's your formula.
Every time we meet, we still are fine-tuning our pitch. Our investment deck is not static. Every month I'd go in there and change things. Oh, that's not wrong. And sorry, that's not right. And go there and critique yourself and change that. And I think in the age of AI, this change and disruption is happening every day. And one of the challenges, if I may add, is generative AI is hugely value destroying for certain business models. At the same time, it's also hugely value creating for new business models. I think there's a question for all businesses and all startups, which is what's your approach to take advantage of what's available and quickly iterate, test and learn.
Knight, this has been awesome. I've loved hearing about your journey. You're still at a very young stage, but you've got all these models and processes that are informing your decisions, which I would say is a very pragmatic and strong path into growing your business and going into new markets. And I wish you all the very best. And thank you for sharing what you've learned along the way with our listeners.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
I'm Hussein Al-Bedri, producer of These Three Things. This part of the podcast is called The Three Learned Things. Shona and I wanted to briefly reflect on the 3 key insights we got from today's episode, which is brought to you in association with Callaghan Innovations Upskill Products. These products are designed to help startups uncover and acquire the skills they need to succeed.
So Knight was fantastic. Thanks for bringing him along to the podcast. Hussein, I know he's a connection of yours and you've been working with him across several different businesses over the years. What did you take away from what he had to share with us?
Yeah, Knight is a really dear friend, and I've watched his journey. So I was his last boss in the corporate world before he fully focused on Relab. You know, he isn't a stereotypical founder, and he had to navigate that balance. The first thing that comes to my mind was his approach to product market fit was more of a constant journey than a destination. So he couldn't get to a place where he goes, oh yeah, this is done, product market fit, we've achieved it, we're off now. He had a situation where he had to pivot the business, and so that product market fit had to keep shifting as the business focus was changing. So I think that whole view around not seeing product market fit as something that you will just achieve, but once you achieve it, there's potential that is going to evolve and change.
Keep an eye on it, that's right. For me, it was the goal that he had around the process. He was very clear about investment and that investors make a decision pretty much as soon as you walk in the room, right? And that's true. People do judge a book by its cover. But when we got into the conversation, that goal that I hope people are going to take away is that he's very clear on the process. How do you get them from that state of, hi, my name's Knight and I am a CEO of a tech business, you know, where people are yawning, to this is who I am and why you should listen to me, and this is why my product is here to solve this problem and we're going to do it. And it was very simple, wasn't complicated, and I hope if anything people walk away from this podcast going, if I can't say my value proposition in 2 sentences, I've got to work hard to get myself to that place and practice it. So that was gold. So thank you, Knight, for that.
And, you know, there was a lot of wisdom from Knight. I felt, you know, for someone at that stage of the company, of the startup journey, for that to kind of come through was a real piece of wisdom. The next one, or the last one that I had really, was how do you use your data to determine market conditions and figure out if you need to pivot. So they have a property platform, they are keeping across property valuations and property sales across the entire country, and they could see in their data that the property market was shifting. So that was really interesting, and they had to pivot from pretty much, I guess, a B2C where they're going after property investors and developers to going after the real estate market, which was a B2B kind of sale. And for them to do that based on data is gold. So how do you leverage your data so that you are not just making the day-to-day tactical decisions, but you're also using it to help you navigate where the future might be heading?
And And probably more to the point, how do you make sure you have the data surface? Because every business, every single business has data. It's whether you've made it visible to yourselves. And I do experiences of businesses where I'll go in and I'll ask them about their data and they're like, oh, we don't have it. And I'll just look them square in the face and I'm like, oh, you have it. And you can see them pause and they're going, oh, I do. Get that up, get that out. Make sure it's visible to everyone because it actually tells a story and it could save your business.
That's very true. That is very true.
Can you do me a favor? If you like this episode, can you hit the subscribe button? It really makes a huge difference to us and it means that we can continue to evolve, grow, and bring more insights from a larger variety of guests. Thank you for listening to These Three Things. Our podcast is fueled by our passion and admiration for startups and the courageous people who create them. A huge thanks to our wonderful listeners and guests, my producer Hussein Al-Badri, our sound and visual crew, Elisa Grishkova and Carl Butler, and our sponsor, Callahan Innovation, who are just as committed and passionate about the ecosystem as we are. Tune in next week for another episode of These Three Things.